From classrooms to corporate America, woke politics is on the rise. My next guest wants to put it out of business. So can he? Vivek Ramaswamy is a biotech entrepreneur and the author of the upcoming book, Woke Inc., out next month, and he joins me now. Vivek, always great to have you on the show. There's this weird dichotomy here. Woke politics is actually out of step with consumer choice, with most Americans. And yet there's this small radical minority that seems to control corporate America. Why?
Yeah, so it works like this. I mean, being woke basically means, let's just define it for what it is. The best definition I can give is obsessing about race, gender, and sexual orientation, maybe climate change too. Full stop. But the problem is, if you disagree with the woke agenda today, that means you're going to be tarred with the scarlet R, or being called a racist. And there's really no greater insult in modern America than to be called a racist. So when given the choice between either being called racist or pledging allegiance to this new religion, everyday Americans are choosing to bend the knee. And the real problem is that when wokeness then got merged with capitalism, that's when it became unstoppable. And that's what I talk about in my book, where each side in this trade, corporate America and the woke movement, they don't really love the other side, but they got in bed together anyway because each side was able to get something out of the trade. For wokeness, it gave them legitimacy and money. But for corporate America, it gave them cover to be able to stop talking about economic issues or stop talking about Occupy Wall Street, and instead to start talking about diversity, inclusion, and skin-deep characteristics. And it's been more like mutual prostitution than an arranged marriage, but it's worked out pretty well for both sides. And that's why it's spreading so rapidly.
You know, Vivek, that's very well said. You said everyday Americans have bent the knee. And it's true that a lot of people have bent the knee, but I don't think this ideology, I don't think identity politics is popular with Americans. So it makes me wonder why corporations are willing to undercut their, not just their bottom line, but in some cases brands that have been built up over decades for such a radical, small, weakly held position. Why have they been so willing to go along with something that is just not representative of their customer base?
Well, it's a great way for them to change the subject to be able to deflect public accountability from the real issues that they'd rather talk about. If you're Coca-Cola, it's easier to issue statements about a new voting law in Georgia that make you sound more like a super PAC than a soft drink manufacturer than it is to contend with your own product's role in the nationwide epidemic of diabetes and obesity, including in the very black community that they profess to care so much about. If you're Nike, it's easier to donate tens of millions of dollars to BLM than it is to, effectively deal with the issues in the black community who they're actually selling their products into. So I think it's a great way to change the subject.
Right. Vivek Ramaswamy's got a new book. It's coming out in August, Woke Inc. We look forward to that book. We're glad to have you on the show this morning, Vivek.
Good to see you.
All right, take care.